You always ask the questions nobody asks. So
And a lot of it's happening in my own house. Here.
Because it rains so much. Yeah.
That's a good one.
But you're the only person ever who's ever asked me that question. Ever.
Do something fun, have a romance, maybe.
Wow, what a presentation.
And I can show you my favorite tattoo.
I'm still laughing about that intro about Jurassic Park and elephants.
She still hasn't got any elephants, so it's a win-win so far.
Those things are always interesting just because I'm so scattered.
I find it so funny because we also met before the pandemic. We have a longer history.
Did you really bring that up? That was a private conversation.
I hope people keep thinking that I'm really relaxed while I'm playing and do not realize when I'm playing the difficult parts of the song.
That's a really good question. Again, Mark, yeah, man. Everybody needs to subscribe because Mark here, he asks really good questions. I'll go this way. There he is.
Art needs multiple voices to truly shine.
So that's when I say, okay, you need to really learn how to do it right.
It's bound to come out at one point. So this was what was coming out.
Oh, you sure you're not interested? I was like, don't ask me again. I can't refuse it twice.
A wrecking machine. I'll take it.
9 to 11 years to become a neurophysician.
Anytime I see a breakdown and then I'm like, that seems different, I'm in.
Be in their presence, so I conduct my life in a way that I hope that they want to be in my presence as well.
9 to 11 years to become a neurophysician.
Wow. Okay. And is it like how it is here in America where you have to do a residency for like a year or so?
No, it's basically the same. You've got like 6 years. It's the same for all medical students. And then you choose whether you want to be a GP, a surgeon, and then the number of years depends on your specialty. Like GP is 6 years. If you want to be a surgeon, it can be up to 5 to 7 years,
Okay. All right. And
so after 6 years, you basically spend all your days in hospital. It's like a job. Man.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, based here in Seattle, Washington, in the United States of America. And thank you so much for joining me on this 18th of December, 2021. And I have a few housekeeping details, as always, before we get to my interview this afternoon. And hopefully you're having have a happy holiday season as we're a week away from Christmas and 2 weeks away from 2022, which is kind of crazy to think about. But the next confirmed live stream that I have is going to be on Thursday, December 30th. So that should be the last one of the year. And that's going to be tentatively at 5 p.m. Pacific, where I have the new Fun Table sessions coming back. And so if you're new to all of this, that's where I bring guests that I've interviewed prior, and we come together. And in most cases, they have never met each other. And we just kind of talk about random things. So in this case, it'll be probably about, things during the year and the holidays and what they have coming up and just kind of random things. So that's what we're looking at for Thursday the 30th. There might be a live stream or two in between now and then. If you'd like to know if I do have other things coming up, you can follow me as Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram. That's where I post everything first. And then some of that information migrates over to other social media platforms. If this is the first time, if you joining me on my YouTube channel, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm getting closer and closer to moving up to another tier on the subscription list with YouTube. So it'd be great if I think I need about 14 or 15 more subscribers to hit on the next plateau. And so it's really great to be back. As many people know, I've been doing live streams all year. This is actually number 159 for this year. And then now I've slowly been going back to in-person events. I was just at one last night up purely for pleasure, but I have been back with the ballet and the opera and the theater and musical theater and concerts finally. Shot my first concert a week ago, and so we'll kind of see what 2022 has in store. I don't really have any kind of massive plans about things. I know that in-person things will hopefully continue, and then my coverage with film reviews and film festivals will also continue, and then being here with live streams with all of you will also continue. I just don't know to what degree. So yeah, lots of changes have happened this year for me, and we'll kind of talk about those possibly during this interview and definitely on the 30th during the fun table session. So let me change something real quick here. Hi, Ove. Good to see you over in Norway. Thanks for joining me. And it's finally one that's probably a little earlier for you instead of having to be up so late to join me, since you're in a whole other part of the world, but always good to see you. And so let's get to my guest. My guest today is a professional in the field of medicine. I can't even read my own writing. As an emergency room physician in France, she has been on the front lines since this pandemic started. I am thrilled to have her return to talk about her experiences in 2021. Please welcome back to the Eclectic Arts virtual studio, Dr. Elodie Gintz.
Hi.
Hi, Elodie. How are you?
Good. Glad to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. It's good to see you again. And thank you so much for taking the time to catch up and see what's been going on the last 11 and a half months.
A lot.
Yeah, as we were talking pre-show, it's so interesting to think back to that time period of January of 2021 and how things have kind of moved and shifted. And, now we have this new variant here in the fall. It's almost officially winter here and all that kind of thing. So we'll start with the present. So how are things for you in terms of what you do as an emergency room physician in France?
Well, it's been kind of difficult since a month, actually, because we got a lot of non-vaccinated people getting COVID and ending up in hospital. And as usual in winter, we've got more activity, like we need more beds and stuff. And with COVID, we turned some usual medical ward into COVID wards, so we don't have enough bed for like usual patients, So it's really busy in the ER. Yeah, not enough bed for patients, so it can be exhausting, especially when it could be prevented by just getting the vaccine. So it's kind of a grind, actually.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. That if here you are, dealing with the repercussions of folks that have made a decision not to get vaccinated. And like you just said, it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to be overcrowded. We don't have to turn in a non-COVID ward into a COVID ward if these things weren't, if some people are making different decisions, I guess you could say. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, and they've got a lot of theory that they are right not to getting vaccine, but it's kind of selfish, and they really don't understand the issue. They're just thinking about them, and it's kind of tiring. And I guess it's the same in the US. Like all healthcare workers are just exhausted. Sorry.
Yeah, it just kind of brings up that I should have checked in with Steve, who's the drummer for Alice, as an ER physician in Los Angeles. So it's kind of like I should see how things are going for him. I'm having same situation. I think he's been about the same amount of years he's been an ER physician and dealing with the stuff on the front lines. I was just like, people, please, if you just do some of these things, it would make my life so much easier.
Sure.
And also, like you said too, I think sometimes people forget that if you have some other kind of ailment, you may not have a place to go or bed to be on because it's taken up by this other group of people.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It's even crazy to me just overall that I'm still here talking about this almost 2 years later.
Exactly. I feel like it's like the same at the beginning of the year, maybe even worse, I think, because we had like high hopes, with the vaccine and stuff, and we were like, okay, everybody's gonna get vaccinated and it's gonna be over and stuff. And
yeah, I think
we're still there, and we've got this new variant coming, and like we have no idea how it's gonna end and stuff. But
yeah, no, absolutely. Because I remember it was around this time when we started hearing the news from China, and then in January here in Washington State in 2020, that's when we made all the news because of what was going on in Kirkland, Washington, with the home there and the people that were getting the virus and they were dying, and then it became like, what is this thing? So we were just really kind of, unfortunately, ahead of the curve because everyone's kind of looking at what's going on over there, and then it starts showing up other places, and then obviously we all know what happened after that. And so I kept thinking that we'd have X amount of months, and then it would be better, and then it would be okay. Now there's more months, and then maybe next year, and it's like, well, maybe no. And
it was so funny because I think like around New Year's Eve, everybody was thinking like, okay, it's like 2021, everything is going to be over, and it was not, it's just the same, and it's like, yeah, it's a new year, it's going to be great, and no way.
Yeah, no, you're right, and we're kind of in this weird. At least over here, we're kind of in this weird transitionary era because, like I was mentioning in my intro, that I personally have been back to some in-person live events. I've been able to go to a restaurant or what have you. I personally choose to handpick what I do. I'm not just like, hey, yeah, let's do everything. But I know other people are. They're just flying everywhere and doing everything, and I'm kind of like, well, I don't mind gambling like at a casino every now and then, but I don't want to be there all the time. And I kind of look at it the same way with my life.
If you want to spend Christmas with your family, I think it's time to kind of isolate, because it's going to be like in a week or so. So if you want to be safe, it's time to stay home.
I hope that some people kind of take that mentality, because I know, like, for my immediate family, we're already taking that mentality about so what are we doing? And I have a family member who's going to be going out of town during part of the holidays, so we're trying to do their stuff now because we don't want to do it when they come back from wherever they've been, and have them quarantine for X amount of days and all this kind of stuff. It'll be well into January at that point when they're back. So it's like, well, no, let's just do it now, and then we'll see you whenever we see you. But yeah, and again, I think everyone's to this point of just like, we just want to get rid of the mask. We want to get rid of everything. I just want to go back to 2019. It's like, well, that's not reality. That's not what it is.
Yeah, it's not going to work like that.
Yep.
Not yet.
And you would know, being on the front lines, that that most likely we're probably going to be seeing another variant at some point. That's just what these things do. They mutate, and they like to fight against things. And if they don't like what they're coming up against, then they're going to change into something else. And they're like, oh, great. And there's another one, and there's another one. But if the vaccination process really starts to pick up steam and starts to do what it's supposed to do, then that won't matter as much with the future things are coming. So
yeah, sure.
It's so, yeah, and it's, at least here in America, it's such a polarizing topic. Even for me doing a live stream about this right now, I'm sure there's some people that if they are on the other side of this discussion, they'll be like, well, Mark, I don't agree with you at all, and I'm going to turn this off, or I'm going to put a nasty comment on your YouTube channel. Or,
sorry about that.
And it's like, yeah, and that's in some ways that is your right to be able to do that, but hopefully you would start thinking beyond yourself a bit, that this is bigger than all of us. So and
it's just
so everyone's tired. Everyone's just tired.
Sure. I understand that.
And
I'm glad the borders are open now. I mean, because there was a travel ban, like for Europeans, we couldn't come to the US. So I was hoping to come last summer,
right?
And they just opened the borders in November, so it was kind of too late for me. But yeah, I'm hoping for next year. So.
Okay.
But I don't know, with this new variant, maybe they choose to close again. But I'm not sure it's gonna change anything, because it's already in the US, it's already in France, and it's everywhere. So.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point about travel, because, and I haven't been keeping up on all the latest details, but I knew there was something about that Canada was going to like reimpose like US folks not going back up there, because they had just opened it back up.
Yeah.
And now it's like they're going to reverse that. And then, so does the US start reversing, international travelers? Do they say you can't come here right now? Or do they?
I've been waiting for a year.
Yeah, imagine like if they keep it open, then like right when you're ready to come back here, like in the summer, that's when they say, sorry, you're not coming here.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened the first time. I had my flight ticket to Seattle for when it was like the first wave, so just everything was canceled and stuff. So I was hoping for 2020, but it didn't happen. 2021.
Yeah, well, here's to 2022 being the
one.
Well, and in some cases, it's kind of twofold in your case, which I know is that you're hoping that a certain basketball player comes back for another year.
That it's like so uncertain, you know. I mean, it's crazy. So I'm just like no planning anything because it's just. But yeah, I have big hopes. I have big hopes.
Okay, well, yeah, that's hope is always good. We'll just see if it becomes reality.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm just kind of curious. I mean, for you personally, do you think Sue's coming back?
Yeah, I'm sure she will, unless
Okay.
she's got like some health issue. But I'm pretty sure she will be coming back.
And
I mean, she's got to play in the new arena, the Climate Pledge Arena.
That's true. That is
Have
true.
you been there?
I haven't been there yet.
Okay.
I do have tickets for a concert, but that concert's not till September. So I'll probably be in there earlier than that, or even for possibly a Storm game.
Yeah, sure.
Because I do want to see that arena. And,
yeah, I've seen some pictures and some videos. It's huge.
Yeah, I know a couple people that went to the soft opening when they had some bands play. I think that's when the Foo Fighters played and some other people were playing music there. They had really good overall reports about it. Other than the seats, I know somebody was saying the seats were, for all the money that they spent on this thing, the seats are pretty flimsy. But the technology and everything else that they built into it sounds really, really interesting. So, because I know they were saying that you can like use your phone for pretty much everything. So if you're going to go get a concession, you just put your phone to some device, and then you can just literally walk in, grab stuff off the shelf, and walk out. You don't see you don't see a cashier at all.
Okay.
So it's like, oh
that's
wow,
like a new COVID thing.
Yeah, that's true. They probably weren't. I don't know if they're even thinking about that when they designed that technology into that. Same thing.
I don't know. I'm just.
If you go to the team store, it's the same thing. If you want to get a jersey, if you've already scanned it when you go in, you just pick the stuff you want, and it somehow tracks what you've done, and you just walk out with it. So it's kind of a weird thing. And Ove, I see that you're talking about football and hockey's plagued with COVID right now. Yeah, especially U.S. football. Over 100 players tested positive, so they had to move.
I think in the NBA right now they have a lot of players in COVID protocol right now.
Yep. The major sports here are all getting hit, and they're saying some of it's almost like a timing thing because we had Thanksgiving back in November, which was roughly 2.5 weeks ago. And now all this stuff's showing up, and weather's colder depending on where you live here in the US and all that kind of thing. So like the Seattle Seahawks just moved their game from tomorrow to Tuesday because and they're doing pretty good. They only have 2 players in protocol, but the team they're playing, the Los Angeles Rams, have like 23 in protocol.
Yeah, you don't have a team anymore at that point. It's just
it would have become something like, do they forfeit or what do they do? I don't know, but the NFL decided to move 3 games to different days. One's now on Monday and 2 are on Tuesday.
Yeah, because you have to replay the game. I mean, and the schedule is kind of hard to keep up if you have like too many games missed.
That's true, and it wouldn't surprise me too. It is a business, so there's probably some other kind of things that they're looking at, saying that we don't want to miss out on all this money, so we're going to take our chances, and whether right or wrong. It's definitely front and center all over again. The holidays. And excuse me, as we were talking a little bit pre-show, because there's so much work to do at the hospital that you're at with COVID and all the other things that are going on. How do you manage to, like for me, like with my day job that I have now, which I started in September, I work 8 to 4:30, 8 to 5, that kind of thing. It's Monday through Friday. You don't have that kind of schedule as an ER physician. So how do you get used to doing, so many hours on and so many hours off kind of a thing?
Yeah, I'm kind of used to it, I've been doing this for like 10 years. So it's just, but sometimes it's kind of hard to keep up with the schedule. And it's like, it's not regular, sometimes you work at night, sometimes daytime, sometimes like 24 hours in a row. So, but you have to have a great body and mind. I mean, just to kind of keep up with it. But I guess we're like used to it, But sometimes you're just kind of tired.
And do
sometimes
you?
people like, after night shift, they just say, go to bed and sleep. But actually you just can't, because you're just like, you're exhausted, but you cannot sleep at the same time. So it's kind of tricky.
Yeah, because I had done for a very short time. I had worked at a place doing the graveyard shift overnight.
Oh yeah, you
and
told me about it.
yeah, and that was like I couldn't get used to it, and I didn't even do it that long. It's just like when I was off, if I had a day or a night that I wasn't supposed to work, so like, so what am I going to do now at 1 a.m? Nobody's up, no one's doing anything. So it kind of defeated the purpose of me having that time. Because like, well, I'm just wasting this time. And I felt like going to sleep then, but then that would screw up the next night. So it's like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I understand you. Because I worked last night. I mean, I had a 24-hour shift yesterday, so I came back home this morning, and I'm working again 24 hours tomorrow. So I'm starting tomorrow morning at 8:30 for 24 hours. So yeah, I'm kind of waking up right now. Like I had a nap and I woke up at 4 p.m. So like 4 hours ago. So it's like kind of the morning to me too. Actually, I'm like on your time right now. So hopefully I'll go to sleep in a few hours. So otherwise I'll be just exhausting for tomorrow. So
yeah, that's.
But yeah, I've been doing this for a lot of years, so I think my body is kind of used to it. But I'm pretty sure we're like using some of year span, like doing this kind of work is.
Yeah, it's got to be shaving some years off your life.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
And I just thought of something that that Steve, the ER physician down in LA that I know, he had mentioned that there's certain shifts that sometimes there's some part of him that he decides to say yes to just because he's kind of wondering like how crazy it's going to be. So for example, he's done the New Year's Eve evening shift into the new year, and that's when they get all the crazy from people from parties, all kinds of weird things that happen. Yeah. Have you ever worked shifts like that over there where you're like, it's probably going to be kind of hectic and nuts, but you still said yes?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, you have to when you've done this for a long time. Usually I work on the 1st of January. So it's kind of weird because at the beginning, everybody is still asleep, from the party from last night. And they are like starting to wake up. And then it's the workload is getting bigger during the day. But yeah, we've got some people like playing with firecrackers and stuff like that, even the next day. And one day we had like a gunshot round with they were playing with the guns and they were just drunk and they shoot themselves. Just stupid stuff. So yeah, it's gonna.
Wow.
We've got like every year, like I would say like one people dying from fireworks and stuff like that. Yeah, because it's really popular in the northeast of France because we're like the German border, and it's in France it's prohibited to use fireworks.
Oh,
New Year's.
Okay.
But in Germany they can, so people go to Germany to buy them, and they are using them in their yards or in the streets. And so every year we've got like one guy who either die or like lose his hand and stuff because they are not allowed to use them, and they don't know how to use them. Usually they like set the thing on, and it's not like cracking, so they go up and say what's happening, and then die. Last year when someone got beheaded, actually, it was bad, really bad. Anyway.
Wow. That sounds like over here for 4th of July. We're like here where I live. Well, I just moved cities, but I'm still in the general area. But for the most part, fireworks are banned during 4th of July because of safety. And so, but you can go to the Indian reservations and buy as many as you want. So that's what people do. They go there and then they come back and do them on 4th of July at night and that kind of thing. And invariably, you'll see something on the news about some kid that lost a finger or did something because they had an M80 in their hand, or just like what you said, that they're waiting for it to go boom or go off, and then it doesn't. So they get close to see if
exactly. I mean, they never learn. Every year.
And I see Ove's talking about the same thing in Norway. And I used to love fireworks as a kid when we didn't really have the ban and all that kind of stuff. And one year we could actually buy like firecrackers and stuff, which we couldn't buy. So they loosened up the laws or whatever. And so my neighborhood friends and all that kind of stuff. So we went biking over there to the stands and buying a bunch of stuff. And I still remember we did a bunch of firecrackers in the cul-de-sac where my parents' house was. And my friend and I, because I think one of our parents knew, you better clean up that mess. There's all the paper all over the place on the street and all that. So we're there sweeping it into a pile. And being the little like pyromaniacs we were back then, we're like, hey, we should try to set this on fire. We're trying to light the fire and stuff, the paper from the fireworks. Well, being stupid, there was some duds in there that still have the gunpowder in them. Yeah. And so it like blew up in our face. And we're like really close to it as we were trying to light this thing. And we're like, oh my gosh. Kind of learned a lesson from that.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. But yeah, every year we've got some damage.
Well, and here, like I think the main display of fireworks for New Year's will be at the Space Needle. Okay. We do them off of there. And there was, and we kind of joked about this after the fact. It's pseudo funny, but New Year's Eve of 2019, it was really windy here. So out of safety, they kept postponing. Oh, we're not going to do it at 11:30. We're going to try it maybe at 12:30, and then we're going to try it at 2 a.m. And then they just nixed it all together. And it's kind of like, that should have been an indication of what was coming in 2020. That we didn't even get fireworks.
You keep postponing stuff.
Yeah, it's like, guess what's coming? This is going to get you ready for it. It's like, oh crap.
How is the weather in Washington right now? Did you have any snow yet?
We have not. It was really, really rainy overnight, and last November was like, I think the 5th wettest November we've ever had. So we were getting even more rain than normal here. Yeah. But the temperatures have been also a little bit warmer than normal too. We've been getting this onflow from the Hawaiian Islands coming up, bringing all this rain and also boosting the temperatures. Having said that, like right now, it's typical for this time of year. The temperatures have dropped. It's definitely cold when you step outside, but we haven't had any snow yet.
Yeah, because you had some last year, I think.
We did, yeah. We got that in, oh gosh, we got some dustings and stuff. I do remember we also got some in February that because I was out there shoveling it. That's how I remember. And where I moved, I just moved like 15 minutes away to a neighboring city. And so I don't know if my elevation here is any higher. I don't think it is, but we'll kind of see. I mean, for me, it's always nice to look at, but to try to like drive around in and be practical and stuff, there's nothing but hills here, so it's kind of a problem. That's why, like, people in the Midwest and in the United States, they laugh at us because they get snow all the time. But it's like, have you been to Seattle and look at the topography of what we're like? Yeah, it's like this everywhere. So you're going to have problems depending on what kind of vehicle you have, and now we don't have the budgets either through the cities to get more snow plows and more whatever. That's been cut back. And I don't know if this is the same thing. This is actually a good topic. Here, not just in Washington State, but in the United States, we've been having a real worker shortage, a problem of finding people to do work. They've been trying to have incentives of signing bonus, more money per hour, all this kind of thing, and they still can't find people. So I don't know exactly where all of these people went. But you can go to a certain, like, say, like a restaurant, and they might even have a sign. Okay, so it's the same thing.
Yeah, same here. Like, they're looking for waitress everywhere. I mean, it feels like it. I don't know if people don't want to work anymore. I don't know.
Oh, it's interesting. So
it's
not
I
just.
have a friend she's got like a small restaurant, and she was like opening daytime and stuff, but she had to close because she has like no one to do the waitressing. So she's just like working on weekends now. It's kind of weird.
That's interesting.
I don't know if it's since COVID or if people like, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know, like, I was talking with a coworker about this, and they're like, well, some people, kind of this time has made them realize they weren't happy with their job, so they went to something else. And I said, well, I understand that, but there's some people then that, like, there's not extra unemployment anymore in the United States. There's none of this other extra federal help. So what are these people doing though for a living? Who
Yeah.
sucks them up? And if they're not working, how are they surviving? I don't understand this.
Yeah, I don't know.
If
They're
they could-
selling fake vaccinated pass. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God. Yeah, like you're telling me pre-show. Yeah, maybe maybe they have turned to a life of
Big
crime
business now.
yeah, crime and forgery and being an imposter, whatever else. It's just, yeah, I can go. I mean, if I went to like a local place just down the street, 5 minutes from me, there's going to be either a long line because they don't have enough workers to get everything done quickly. Or yeah, there's one place that they closed over the weekend and said, we'll be back open on Monday because we don't have enough staff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've never, in the 51 years I've lived, I've never experienced this ever.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, people need money to live, so how do they get it? You know, it's weird.
It's really strange. And see, always talking about the Aston River floods over in Norway, and
Oh, really?
weed business
But
went
actually,
private.
is it warm? In France, I mean, it's kind of warm, you know, for the season right now. Because usually we can have snow and stuff, and the temperature are usually below 0 right now. But it's kind of warm actually. So I don't know if it's the same in Norway right now.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if they're having some flooding over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I don't know what else is going to be like a fallout of this pandemic time, you know, with jobs and everything's really expensive over here now. Everything across the board's gone up. Doesn't matter what you buy, everything costs more.
I don't know. I don't feel like it, but I don't really go out and stuff, so I'm not sure. I mean, but yeah, I've heard that if you're like you go to the US here to travel, since it's been like, you know, banned from Europeans, everything, the price are really up, like, you know, going to a restaurant and hotels and stuff. I've heard that the prices are up. And I've heard also, like, you know, trying to get a taxi or car or renting a car. I've read that renting a car is really, really expensive.
Yes, my limited understanding of that is because when the pandemic hit, there was no travel around the US. So all these car companies sold off a lot of their stock. And then now when travel picked back up again, they don't have the cars. And then now we have this manufacturing problem in general about cars. So even if you want to buy a car, there's nothing available. You're waiting months to get something. So now that even these rental places can't even buy new cars to put into their fleet to rent because they can't even get them. So yeah, you're right. If you're someone traveling here to the US, you're going to have a much more expensive taxi ride. You're definitely going to have a more expensive Lyft or Uber ride. Your meal is going to cost you more. Your hotel, everything.
I'm still coming, man.
Well, that's great. I like your determination.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so good.
The one plus that I can say is that the gas prices have started to drop a little bit here. Finally, they
really?
started to go back down.
Okay. It's really up right now in France. It's really bad. I mean.
Yeah.
It's weird all over the place.
Yeah, and I think for everybody,
kind of unpredictable. I don't know. I mean, it's like nobody knows what's.
Yeah, that's very true. It's kind of like like for 2022, we're almost conditioned to be like, well, whatever else you want to throw at us, just go ahead and throw it at us because we just we can't predict it. It's just like, oh, now it's going to be, I don't know, super warm in January here, and we have sun all day or something. I don't know. I mean, there could be any kind of weird thing like that, or I don't know. There's some sort of huge gas shortage, so now gas becomes $10 a gallon or something. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because there's been so many weird things already.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're here in the holiday time period. What do you tend to do? Do you have traditions in France, or for you specifically with your family that you do during the holidays? Or
well, those are coming home to this Christmas at my place. So yeah, we're just having a meal and opening some gifts and stuff. So, but then I'm working on the 25th. Actually, on Christmas Day, I'm working. So we're going to do Christmas here at home.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And is there anything that folks that are French tend to do for Christmas? Is there anything that's kind of unique to France in terms of Christmas, or just kind of whatever?
Maybe on the culinary side, like, the meal you're doing. So we usually have, for desserts, it's called like a log. Like, the wood you put in the fireplace.
Yeah.
So my mom is going to bake that for us because I won't have time. And we're having, foie gras, which is really French thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to do that. Having some oyster maybe.
Okay,
The
interesting.
French love the food, so it's kind of, traditional Christmas Eve meal.
Okay, yeah, that definitely does sound different. I think for Americans, it's going to be probably maybe like a ham or a turkey, something like that would be the Christmas meal.
Mm-hmm.
And I see always talking about it's 5+ Celsius there in Norway, and that gas is super expensive over there right now too. So it seems to be a global issue.
Sure, I think
and do you guys do like Christmas cookies and that kind of stuff? Or?
Yeah, so where I live in the Northeast, it's called the region is called Alsace, and we have like traditional Christmas cookies.
Oh.
It's called bredele because it's like we can talk like a dialect called Alsatian. So it's a mix of German and French, and so we've got some culinary custom that are like a little bit like Germans stuff. So.
Oh, interesting. I
don't have any to show you, actually. We've already eaten all of them. I was like looking for some and I'm like, none left.
Well, that's okay. I'll just have to look up online and see what they look like.
If I'm coming to Seattle, I'll bring you some in the summer.
There we go. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm hoping to come for May, but I don't know if we're going to be locked down and if the border are going to be closed. So I don't know. I have no idea. But my suitcase is ready.
And just out of pure curiosity, so since you're up in the northern area of France, coming up to the border of Germany, is there any kind of do the people in your area of France, do they have an opinion of, like, say, the people that live in the south of France and vice versa?
They do. We do, yeah. I mean, in the north, we like follow the rules and we are like very strict about some certain stuff, and in the south, it's just like more like, Mediterranean people.
Okay.
Like when you go to Italy and stuff, people are more like flimsy about stuff, and like they're usually late and they're like not following the rules. And you could see that with COVID. Like, wearing the mask and stuff, they didn't give a shit about it. It was wild. Whereas where I live, people usually tend to follow the rules, so wearing their mask and stuff, it was kind of okay. But in the south, it's just crazy.
That's what an interesting parallel. That's basically the same for the northern U.S. states versus the southern U.S. states. Here in Washington, we still have our mandates and we have a bunch of other things in place. And then we just had some family that came from Arizona, which is considered a southwestern state, and they don't have any mandates. So we're like, what? So for them, it was weird. It's like they had to put masks back on. They had to get IDs and stuff checked at restaurants. And like, well, back home, we don't have to do any of this stuff. And we're like, huh? Oh, weird.
Because when you go to a restaurant, you're supposed to show like your vaccinated certification or like your PCR results. And in the south, like they don't even ask them for. People just can go in the restaurant. Most of the restaurants don't ask.
See, that sounds again. That sounds just like all the southern states, and I can't imagine what's like in the deep south, like Alabama, Mississippi, those places. I've got a friend who's in Georgia who he's actually up here right now. He just took a flight up for a quick weekend, And he was saying, because we've done a couple of interviews, that state only shut down for a couple weeks during this entire time. So they've just been operating pretty much as normal. It's like, oh my gosh.
Sure. Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm also curious too. So like, if you look at north and south of France, is there like different accents, different dialects, even amongst yourselves?
Yeah, sure. They have a different accent. Even in the southwest, they got a different accent. So, and you've got some dialects in certain regions, but mostly it's kind of dying, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of mad at my father. He didn't teach me how to speak my dialect, actually, because I don't speak it. I can understand it, but a lot of old folks, still only speak Alsatian or even German, because we were German at the time, actually. So sometimes old people are just speaking the dialect, but I mean, like new folks don't speak it anymore, which is kind of a shame, actually.
Yeah, anytime you have something that dies out like that is not tied to some kind of horrible thing like we have here in the U.S. where they've been trying to change to like things that are related to the Confederacy or the rebel flag or that kind of stuff. But we're just talking about dialects, from hundreds of years. To have it die out, that's unfortunate. I'm thinking about there's a band that's from London, and I didn't even realize when they're talking about Northerners and Southerners there, just in London itself, that they can't understand the Northerners is what the Southerners say, because the accent's so heavy and so different. And I'm like, really, even for yourselves? And they're like, yeah. I said, we had a guy in the band that I said, like, you needed like a translator. We didn't know what he was saying.
Oh God. Well, actually, even in my own dialect, between the north and the south of the region I live, Alsace, it's different. The pronunciation of words is different, so sometimes it's kind of tricky.
Interesting. I love learning new things about places like what you're talking about, and I'm thinking back to that apparently some people here, just even in the greater Seattle area, we have picked up it's not really an accent, but we say words a certain way that they don't say it in other parts of the U.S. So you could be coming from, say, Pennsylvania and traveling over here to Seattle, and I might say mirror, and they're like, what are you talking about? What's a mirror? And I mean like mirror, but we don't say the two syllables. We just say it like one syllable, mirror.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. There was another example that there's a guest that had traveled over here for a bit and used to live here for like a few years, and then she went back to the East Coast, and she's I never got used to, or like instead of calling like a semi truck, they would call it an 18-wheeler or vice versa. So she's kind of like, so what are you? She just wasn't used to hearing certain things that we use out here all the time. And everybody the same way, if I went over there and lived, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
I've traveled to Scotland, and the Scottish accent is really, really tough. Really tough. Because I was in a small town, like a fisherman town. And even I was working for a GP over there. And even the GP sometimes didn't understand the fishermen, because they had such a strong accent. It was asking me, did you understand? I said, I have no clue. He said, I don't either.
I had a really wonderful guest from Scotland, a film director. I had him on twice, and he's such a funny, self-deprecating guy that he would tell me and the other guests before we went live that he would apologize for his accent if you can't understand what I'm saying. And it was thick, but I could still make out what he was saying. But he was also not a fisherman in a village either, because I can imagine that's even more pronounced. You're just like, huh? And Ove, you're asking what's the name? You mean the name of? Can you kind of clarify? I may have missed what you're asking of Elodie, but yeah. So let's say things look really good. That the borders are open, international travel happens in 2022, and you get to come to Seattle. So beyond the Seattle storm, there are other things on your bucket list or things that you want to hit when you're back here.
Maybe go to Mount Rainier.
Oh,
Is
okay.
the mountain? Yeah, I don't know. Can you hike up there? I'm pretty sure you can. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
From my limited knowledge of some of the people I know that do hike, yeah, you can definitely hike different trails on Mount Rainier and go up to Paradise to start as your home base and go to, depending on your level of hiking ability, go to different places.
Okay. Maybe
Okay.
try that. I've heard Oregon is really nice too. The coast, the Oregon coast. I don't know if you've been there.
That's so like the Washington coast down into the Oregon coast are really popular destinations for locals to go spend like a long weekend. And the last time I was at the Oregon coast, it's been a while, but it's really nice. It's quaint. At least that's how it used to be. And you can see some of the rock formations that were down in Oregon. I remember those on the beach that were kind of known. I forget there's actually a name for some of those places, but and weirdly enough, a coworker that I just talked to, she grew up in Long Beach, which is just north on the coast, just north of so on the Washington side versus the Oregon side of things. Okay, so you want to try to maybe hit the Oregon coast?
I don't know. What would you recommend?
Oh, geez. What would I recommend? I haven't played tour guide in such a long time. What would I recommend about here? One thing is that I think it's kind of nice is just for part of a day or even like a whole day is driving up actually north from where I'm at, so north of Seattle, and then taking the ferry to Whidbey Island. Because you can actually get to Whidbey and then go to the north end of the island and drive off of it. You don't have to take the ferry back. So you end up doing this big old loop. And so Deception Pass is on the north end of Whidbey Island. And I don't know what a drop that is from the road down to the ocean. But I mean, it's really spectacular, especially in the summer when it's beautiful outside. And if you like nature and that kind of thing, and it sounds like you do, that would be something, well worth doing. And if you have, obviously have your daughter with you, that'd be something to do the whole ferry thing. And the ferry ride's fairly short; it's not super long. And also, I mean, I've been going up to the San Juan Islands since I was 3, and that's another ferry ride. But that would be more of like you're there for at least a day, maybe a weekend, kind of a thing. And that's it's like time hasn't really touched it. That's what's kind of nice about it. So. Yeah, they have restaurants and they have a grocery store like on Orcas Island, which is the biggest of the San Juan Islands. But for most of the places that we used to stay when I was 3 and 4, they're still there.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's nice to be able to go, and it's really laid back. Lots of people like to bike on the island, so they just literally park their car, take their bikes onto the ferry. 90 minutes later, whatever, however long that ferry ride is, get off the dock and just go bike and then stay in like a bread and breakfast kind of thing, or stay in the hotel that's right there. And summertime is definitely their time. It's going to be everyone's kind of coming up from California to go there. They're coming up from Oregon to go there. So there's definitely things. So yeah, if it starts looking like it's gonna be on the up and up, you can definitely connect with me offline and you can try to figure some things out. I'll definitely do that for sure.
I'd use it like a travel agent or something.
So Ove was saying there was a medieval town just north of the French border, but he can't recall the name. Do you know what that town is?
Ribeauvillé, maybe? Do you want me to type? No, I can type.
I'm sure you heard it, so maybe that's what it is, Ove. I'm not really sure. Oh, he's talking about the Japanese and Chinese gardens in Seattle as well. The Museum of Flight in Seattle. That's
send me the list.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things, and depending on your interest too, like if you're looking at restaurants or if you like a nice mixed drink or whatever, there's some really interesting hidden things around this town. And now I think about it, I hope some of those are still around. So like I don't know if I should say this. Well, I guess I can say it, doesn't matter. It's not illegal or anything. They have speakeasies here in Seattle. So like the old things when we had prohibition and you couldn't have alcohol, and so they had to kind of hide all that. They actually still have a few of those, and so they're not advertised. They're not anything. You have it's all word of mouth.
I've got like 1 or 2 in Strasbourg where I live, kind of hidden bars, Like you have a secret code, but everyone knows it. But then you can go to the secret place.
That's exactly the same thing. There's a couple of them towards downtown that they're like in an alley, and you wouldn't even know that they're there, but you have to knock a certain way, and you have to have the code and all that. And then it's kind of like, oh, so like if you haven't been here, especially if coming from a place that obviously you have something you just said, but if you're like somebody that came from, I don't know, let's say Texas, and they don't have that kind of thing, they're like shocked by it. They're like, what are we doing down here? And they say, you'll find out. And you're right, Ove. Seattle is built on the old Seattle, so the underground is still here. They still do, well, they were doing tours before the pandemic. I don't know if they still are, but the underground Seattle tour, I did that a long time ago with my brother and my grandfather, and it's creepy. It's it's really creepy to see all of this stuff that still exists down there from when they would try to have like the boats would come into port and they would need more workers. So they would have like all the trap doors at the bars that would literally like open up, and someone would fall down to the ground to the bottom, and they grab them, throw them on the boat, and make them work.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's weird to see. Again, it's been many years since I went down there and did that, but I know they were still doing the tours as of 2019. So
sometimes I'm just wondering, how the city still stands when you have like so much galleries underground and stuff. It's like. I mean, they have to dig at the right place.
That is very true. Yeah, you dig in the wrong place and watch all these buildings tumble down, especially like I mentioned with the topography that were not flat. So, I don't know. I haven't actually been to like downtown Seattle since the pandemic hit. That's probably going to happen for a show pretty soon. But our homeless problem has really gotten even worse than it already was. And that's really unfortunate. But there's even more tents. There's more RVs on the streets. There's more crime. There's more everything. So that's not going to improve anytime soon. So that's definitely something to be aware of, depending on where you're at around this town. And I mean, they were just talking about, it got to a point where we actually had a school, a kindergarten through 8th grade school open up in September. And they had a homeless camp on the campus that they couldn't get rid of because the city and the school district were fighting against each other about who's responsible to remove that. And they just removed it like a week ago. We're in December, so it's been there this entire time.
Wow.
With kids going to school, young kids, and that wasn't even in Seattle proper. That was north of Seattle. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. We're not the only town. You go to Los Angeles, you go to some of the other towns, Portland, they're having an increase in homelessness around here, down there as well. So, and I mean, that kind of begs the question, do you have a homeless, population there in France, or at least in your area?
Yeah, we do. But I think we have more like social security in France more than in the US. So I don't know if we got more shelter and stuff, but I think it shows less in France. I mean, when you're walking down the street, you don't see so many homeless people. As in the US, I think.
Well, that sounds good. And then there's more programs and more resources then, because we're sorely lacking in something.
Yeah.
And I see always talking about Twin Peaks. If you like that TV show from back in the day, you can go. The Tweeds Cafe is still there. Actually, I was just by it a couple weeks ago. Get your coffee and your cherry pie or whatever. And Bruce and Brandon Lee's graves are up on Capitol Hill. They're still that's another. Yeah, there's lots of things.
Yeah, you'll send me the list.
Yeah, for sure, and we can connect about those kind of things. So, if things like we're talking, if we're being positive and glass half full for 2022, what would you also, not from a travel standpoint, just for you personally or professionally, what would you like to see happen for yourself? Do you have any kind of news, not resolutions, but just kind of things like some hopes that you'd like to see happen?
Well, we'd like to really travel with my wife and my kid, I think. Like we usually go to the UK before Christmas, but we haven't been doing this for 2 years because of COVID and stuff. So yeah, traveling is a big thing actually. I mean, personally.
Okay. So traveling, and well, beyond the given of wanting to see things just get better, medically and with everything with COVID related, that's a given. anything beyond that? Is there something that you always wanted to start? Like if you had time to start a new hobby or a new thing that you haven't done?
Well, maybe not starting, but I'd like to go back to sport a little bit. I haven't had much time to, yeah. And actually, I sprained my ankle, so running is not so much on the schedule right now. So
okay,
yeah, I'd like to train a bit more, but I mean,
okay,
maybe try to spend more time with my family. That would be good.
Okay, so travels, back into sports or training, family time, all those sound good. Okay, and Ove, yeah, people being nicer to each other, yeah, sure.
Sure, yeah.
We could definitely use a healthy dose of that at all times.
Yeah.
And sometimes I need. Yeah, and even for myself, sometimes I get kind of caught up in whatever's going on. If things are getting really stressful, and I kind of have to remind myself a little bit more about cutting some people some slack, depending on who those people are. Not necessarily everybody, but there's some people that I need to kind of like, they're going through the same shit I'm going through. So
yeah, sure. But I think we are all losing patience a little bit. I mean.
Yeah, I'm a very patient person, but I definitely have my days where like I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it. So
yeah.
And in terms of what I do with the media outlet, it's hard sometimes. I could have a pretty good day, and then I'll get an email or sometimes a comment about something that just sets me off. And I'm like, don't let them get to you. Take the high road. They're just a troll, or they're just a whatever, a hater. But it still bugs me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's just being human, I mean, it means you care, actually.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does mean I care, and it means that in some cases, I've worked so hard for certain things that I've built, that for you, someone who I don't even know, to say something and just be dismissive of something. Yeah, it's like, would you actually say that to my face? If you're right here, would you actually say what you just typed?
They won't.
I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
Especially if you know that I will push back on you, especially if I can actually touch you. I can't do it through this medium.
Yeah, sure.
So, okay. Well, Dr. Gintz, thank you so much for taking the time. It was awesome catching up with you and seeing what's going on. And hopefully you have a wonderful holiday season. Yeah. Thank you. And well, here's to 2022 being on the up and up, and hopefully we don't get as many surprises as we were getting this year and the last year.
Yeah, or good ones.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch and see if if there's a right time to maybe come on and do another one of these in 2022, or if I end up seeing you in person, that would be even better.
Yeah, that would be great.
And go from there. And Ove, thank you for joining me, and anyone else that's watching this right now. And if you're watching this down the road, please again subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. And if I don't have another live stream, I will see everybody on the 30th when we're going to have some fun with the fun table session. So Dr. Gintz, thank you again so much. Have a good night over there and stay safe.
Bye. Stay safe. Bye.